Tetris is one of those franchises that transcends gamers. Even before the release of Tetris on the Game Boy, the series was popular, but after that handheld release, it became a phenomenon. Everyone and their mother played it in some form, but what if I told you there was one Tetris game you've probably never played or even heard of, and it may very well be the best version of Tetris ever? With the popularity of Tetris, it's obvious that there would be countless releases over the years coming in all sorts of varieties. These include games like Tetris DX, Tetris Plus, Tetris DS, and Puyo Puyo Tetris, just to name a few. But I'm not here to talk about those. I want to talk about a Tetris game that, like Puyo Puyo Tetris, was never released in the West. Tetris Battle Gaiden. Anyone who's played Tetris before should be instantly familiar with the way Tetris Battle Gaiden plays. Unlike a lot of recent Tetris titles though, there's no hard drop, ghost pieces, infinite spinning, or holding. Some may feel held back by the lack of these features, but purists will love it. As evidenced by the title, Tetris Battle Gaiden is a versus Tetris game. There's no standard marathon mode, and the single-player mode that does exist only consists of playing AI opponents rather than the human opponents you'd play otherwise. Really, there's only one main mode, which can be played either single-player or multiplayer, but that mode is so good that I don't think it even matters. So what makes Tetris Battle Gaiden stand out from all the other adaptations of Tetris? There were versus Tetris modes before Battle Gaiden was a thing, so that's nothing new, but it's what the game did with this versus mode that makes it so unique. First, let's talk about the basics though. Whenever you clear 2 lines or more, garbage lines will be added to your opponent's board and vice versa. This is how standard Battle Tetris works even to this day. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the basics. Usually that's the only real defining element of multiplayer Tetris, but Tetris Battle Gaiden adds a few more mechanics that really spice things up. So, you know that piece preview area that's in pretty much every variant of Tetris? The one that tells you which block you'll get next? Well, it's still here, but I wouldn't be bringing this up if there wasn't something different about it in Tetris Battle Gaiden. Some versions of Tetris only give you a preview for one piece, and some show you like the next 50 pieces or whatever, but these piece previews have always been for only a single player. Well, the developers of Battle Gaiden came in and were like, nah, fuck that boring shit, make both players share the piece preview. And you know what? That design choice was perfect. This single unique mechanic alone adds a crazy amount of strategy to the versus Tetris formula. You want that line piece coming up in a couple drops? Why not wait for the other player to place his block down first? See another piece that could totally screw up your opponent? Get tricky and drop your Tetramino at the right time so they're forced to get that specific piece. Because of the shared piece preview, you're always kept on your toes. Sometimes you have to play quickly and sometimes you gotta bide your time. It's great. The best part about this mechanic though is that it directly plays into what is easily the coolest aspect of Tetris Battle Gaiden: the powers. You may have noticed those weird pieces that have little circle segments added to them, kinda like in Tetris Blast. I have no idea what they're actually called, but I'm just gonna go ahead and call them magic orbs. It doesn't matter, you can call them whatever you want, but here's the thing. You want the Tetraminos with these orbs. Conversely, you don't want your friend or whoever else you're playing with to get it, which is where the shared piece preview comes into play again. But why are these orbs so important? While they don't create awesome explosions like in Tetris Blast, every time you clear a line with one or more of them, they get stockpiled and can be used later to activate certain abilities. Players can stash up to 4 orbs, and the number of orbs corresponds to the type of ability that's activated. Each ability at your disposal is important, but generally as a rule of thumb, the level 1 ability is used for quick help. It either clears lines or makes it easier to clear lines. The level 4 ability is usually the big hitter that can really mess up your opponent, while all the other powers in between result in a smorgasbord of different possibilities. But wait, if you can only stockpile 4 magic orbs, then where do all the different abilities come from? Well, that's where the character selection comes into play, another uncommon feature in Tetris titles. The only other Tetris game I know of that has character selection is the aforementioned Puyo Puyo Tetris, but the characters you chose there really wouldn't make a difference. That's absolutely not the case though with Tetris Battle Gaiden. There are 8 different characters to choose from, and each one has their own unique abilities. There's Mirurun, Shaman, Okami Otoko, Bitto, Aladdin, Ninja, Princess, and Halloween? Surely they could have come up with a better name than Halloween, but I guess when you have generic names like Ninja and Princess, you can't expect too much. From my experience, there isn't a single character that's over or underpowered. Oh, except for those 2 secret boss characters you can play as. Don't use them. they're broken. Some might find Ninja's level 4 ability to be a bit OP, but it can actually work to your advantage. Others may dislike Halloween's abilities, for example, but as long as you play smart, you shouldn't be crippled by any one particular attack. There are some abilities that actually may backfire on you if you don't know what they do, but that's just part of the game. Learning what each character does is part of the fun, and the variety that it adds to Tetris is totally worth it. There are always ways to counter your opponent, whether it be through your own character's abilities or just solid Tetris play. This is still a Tetris game after all, so if you're no good at the whole creating lines business, the power-ups won't save you against a decent Tetris player. If you do pit two well-versed Tetris players together though, get ready for some pretty intense matches. I've had battles that go on for 10 to 15 minutes at a time, as each player is either vying for a piece coming up or using a power that saves them from certain defeat. It's almost as fun to watch as it is to play. Everything about Tetris Battle Gaiden is fantastic. I didn't even mention the great soundtrack or the colorful visuals because while they're nice bonuses, the gameplay is what really makes it so good. I have no clue how there hasn't been a new Tetris game that at least tries some of the things Battle Gaiden did so well. Tetris DS is wonderful, Tetris on the Game Boy is a classic, but there's not a single Tetris game I've had more fun playing than Tetris Battle Gaiden. If you like dropping these oddly shaped blocks as much as I do yourself a favor and pick it up. Now. Seriously, go do it. It's cheap.